Hey everyone, so this should be just a quick video about what the main types of native plugins are for Pro Tools, and then a little exploration of the basic features inside a plugin window. So first of all, what's a native plugin? Well, a native plugin is one that uses your computer's processor to do its processing, and it does it in real time. And that means you can instantly hear the effect of that plugin while you're playing things back, but you're not actually writing that to disk. So there are kind of two main categories for these native plugins. One is gain-based processors. So that's things that add or subtract gain basically from your track or your mix. Those are things like EQ, compressors, gates, limiters, expanders, all that good stuff. And then there are time-based processors. Time-based processors are things like reverb and chorus and delay and echo, all that good stuff. So when we use gain-based processors, we usually use them as an insert. First of all, gain-based processors don't generally take up a ton of system resources, so you can kind of reuse them over and over again on different tracks. And we usually want a gain-based processor to be applied to the full signal. We don't want to be mixing, say, a raw signal and then a return signal from some aux input or something. So just as an example, I might use an EQ, which is gain-based, right, on my guitar track. And then I might also use a compressor, right? And then, maybe you need a limiter or something on there too or something. So typically, it's perfectly fine to reuse and have lots of these across your tracks in a session. It's not very expensive in terms of computer processing power. Whereas time-based processors are expensive when it comes to computer processing power. So what we do for those is create an aux input. I'm going to make an aux input right here. Reverb. So if we have a reverb, that's going to cost some system resources as it processes. So is, for instance, a delay or a chorus effect. And then you're going to want to send each track that needs one of those effects over to this aux input and then have it sent back after it's processed back into your mix. So maybe we put our time-based reverb here, and we do our time-based delay here. So these should be set up as aux inputs generally because we want to conserve system resources, and usually you want a bunch of plugins to use the same reverb setting. And then if you need to control how much reverb each of these plugins gets, so say your guitar is sending over to that reverb track, so there's my insert, I'm gonna rename it real quick. Verb. So I've got a bus going to this verb. There it is. So now we've got this guitar track being sent over to a reverb, a time-based processor. What if I have that same verb on my drums and my piano and all my instruments? I'm trying to create a sound like they're all in the same room. So I'm going to send all of them to this verb, but certain instruments will require different levels of reverb. So how do I get that if they're all going to the same reverb track? Well, that's where the send volume comes in. So depending on how much send volume you put out, you will get varying levels of reverb for each instrument, right? So you can choose different amounts that you want for each of your different instruments. Moral of the story, gain-based, you can use them all you want and typically put them into an insert right on the track that you're dealing with. And time-based processors use aux inputs and send tracks over to them. Okay, so the only other thing we really wanted to do today is look over the general kind of standard features that you find inside a plugin window. So most of those are going to be found up here at the top, because the things that are found down below in this kind of colorful area are going to be the things that are particular to a particular plugin. So this top selector here, what this guy does, it's called the track selector. And what it does is allows you to switch to a different track on the same insert. So if I have an EQ at the top of this guitar track and I have an EQ at the top of this one that's different, I can switch which track I'm dealing with by just choosing that other track. So here's the compressor. It's in the third insert spot. So then I can switch over and I'll get whatever's on the third insert spot over there. So that allows us to quickly switch tracks without having to go back over to our mix window to actually get to the next insert. But the insert needs to be in the same insert level. So insert A to insert A, insert B to insert B, whatever it is. And then you can also just change that here. So if you don't get the right one, so let's say there's nothing in insert 3 on this one. So here's my compressor that's currently open. I can switch to the Guitar 2 track, but I get nothing because nothing's in C, but I know something's in B. So I just go over to B. And then also in this second drop down here, which is called the insert selector, so which insert is selected right now, you'll actually see which item is on that insert as well. So you have a sense. So you can quickly, without having to see this window, be able to navigate through things that are on your tracks. So I can go to another track, back to the guitar, and I can quickly see what inserts are on there. So say that your plugin window is open on some other monitor or something, you're still able to kind of navigate through these without having to look at the mix window pretty easily. So the next thing let's look at is the next one down. So that is the plugin selector. So right now, the plugin that's on insert A in this guitar track is an EQ. If I don't want to use the EQ anymore, I just want to switch to a different plugin, I can do that here. I don't have to remove this plugin and then pick another one. Instead, I can just use this drop down, the plugin selector, and then pick a new one. So maybe I just want to switch out the EQ with some other EQ or something. Cool, but you'll notice still, even in a different EQ, we still have a consistent set of choices up here at the top. The stuff inside changes, but the stuff at the top is very consistent. Okay, librarian menu. So that guy is for picking presets. So maybe you want to start with a specific preset or one that you've created. So maybe I'm going to start by just checking out, I don't know, it's a guitar track. So maybe we try an electric guitar thing called add byte, and it automatically adds a little bit. And if that sounds generally good, then you can adjust that and fine tune that from there. Now these plus and minus buttons help you cycle through all those different presets. So it's really nice to just like play back your guitar track. And then, so as that plays back, you can cycle through all the different presets while you're listening. So you just hit the plus or minus to go forward and back. So here I go. My guitar track is about to start playing. There it is. And plus. So that's kind of warmer, more mid-rangey. I don't hear much there. Darken. Don't hear much there. That bites a little more. It's kind of nice. And don't feel like you even have to do just the electric guitar presets for an electric guitar part. You might find that, I don't know, DJ bass kill sounds awesome on your guitar track. Who knows? So just play around and see where you start to get a good sound and something that helps cut through your mix. And then just fine tune things. So you never know what's going to sound good. It doesn't matter what someone else named it. They're just different settings that have worked for someone else at some point or another. Maybe we try telephone for special effects. Cool. And you might just have that on for the first like couple of seconds, and then you automate it to shut off once that like moment in the song is done. So maybe you start your song with a couple seconds of your telephone. And then you automate to bypass. So to shut off the plugin. Cool, and we can automate that, and we'll talk about that soon enough. So you can always bypass. That brings us kind of to that button, right? So bypass will let us bypass the plugin. It'll turn it off for a sec. Now, bypassed plugins still take system resources. So just so you know, if you're always bypassing, or if you've got a ton of bypassed plugins, they're still using some system processing power. So if you really want to get rid of the processing power without losing the plugin on the thing, you just want to turn it off for a bit, but you keep having crashes or something, you can right click and make inactive. That will make it not use processor power. So bypass just makes it so you don't hear what it does, right? It's just turning off its effects, but it's still running. Make inactive, everything's off, but you haven't lost your settings. So it'll kind of gray out. It won't be running, and it also won't be using system resources. And then you got to make it active again if you want it back. Finally, this one's the target button. This sets the window as the target for like keyboard commands. So say that you want more than one plugin window open, you can shift click on another EQ or something, have that one open, then you're seeing the EQ for 2 different tracks, right? And then depending on which one you want to have targeted as your keyboard input, you can do it that way. Or you just click around, right? Cool. That's pretty much it. So we just have these kind of standardized portions, these menus inside of the plugin window, and then everything in the kind of bottom portion of that window will be particular to each plugin. Then just remember, gain-based use as inserts on the track itself, and time-based plugins like delays and reverbs use on aux inputs as kind of a standard workflow. All right, that's it for that one. I'll see you in the next one.